Hello, my friends. Again, I say welcome to another session of Cut the Fat on the SosoBone Media Network. And as you are well aware, we are interviewing and documenting some of our leaders in our diaspora community who at different times have dedicated themselves to sacrifice to provide the services that we so desperately need so that as a people and as a culture, we can remain strong. This afternoon, my guest is none other than Donovan Wilson, president of the Union of Jamaican Association in the Northeast. And I'm going to tell you this that is one of the strongest associations we have. We have been doing tremendous work across the board. And now we're going to get a feedback from the president of UJAA as to where we are as an organization, as a body. Donovan, welcome to SosoBone Media Network.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on, Trevor. We've talked about doing this for some time, and it's good to see that it's finally coming to fruition, right?
Yes.
So, first, I want to say to your listeners, just so we get the name right, that we are the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, right?
Alumni.
It's known to many by our initials, UJAA, right?
Yes.
And the organization was actually founded back in 1990 at the insistence and with the collaboration of the then Consul General Derek Evans, who has now retired, of course. And
Mhm.
so this year, UJ is celebrating its 35th anniversary, 35 continuous years as a
Well,
diaspora organization.
mhm. Well, how many members do we have in the organization at this time? Because that's
So currently we have 66 member organizations, 64 of them very active. We have two that's kind of struggling a little bit, but still with us. So it's something we're very proud of. I would let you know that I am actually the seventh president of
mm,
the organization. So in 35 years, we've had seven presidents, and we have two presidents who actually served for 14 years out of the 35 years. I mean,
mm,
my colleague, Miss Carlene Largy, was president for 6 years, and Leslie and Samuel, her sister, was president for 8 years, and I am now in my third year as president.
okay.
So, seven presidents over the years.
Well, I'm glad to see that continuity, and
Mhm.
I say this because from my experience, one of the things that has held back quite a few of our organizations in different platforms is a rapid change that takes place.
Mhm.
Because when you do that, then you don't have that rollover of having a consistent program in place. Most of the time, new presidents want to go off on a new track. But let me ask this question. Over the years, what has been the contribution of these organizations to Jamaica?
Well,
In, in summary.
I like to tell people that alumni associations came about because there were persons who had a desire to give back to their school in
Mhm,
some way, shape, or form, right? Collectively, through the Union of Jamaican Alumni Associations, and just through one program that we've had, our annual mega raffle, right?
mhm.
We've given back more than 5 million US dollars to schools in Jamaica through that one program alone.
Okay.
Additionally, we have been at the forefront of the implementation of some programs which you hear a lot about, but people don't realize that UJA has been the driving force behind it.
Okay.
Case in point is the annual robotics program in Jamaica. And every year I smile when I see our Jamaican robotics team go overseas and they do well, and
Yes.
everybody is celebrating and everybody's talking about how well our robotics team are doing.
Uh-huh.
And lost in the shuffle is the fact that the driving force behind that robotics program is the Union of Jamaican Alumni Association, not the government, not some other organization in Jamaica. It is the union that's the driving force behind it.
I'm glad you spelled that out, because I've been very commending or uncommending of the government on many occasions
Mm-hmm.
when we see our people have done well,
Mm-hmm.
and they jump on the bandwagon at the back end and take a lot of the credit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean,
Yeah, but in some ways also, Trevor, I think the organizations have to take the blame in that they've allowed this to happen. And
yes,
in many cases, they have not made the effort to insert themselves to let them people know who they are. And so in our case, when the alumni associations came together and we did robotics, and when the team went overseas, we made sure that we are listed as the sponsoring organization in all
mhm.
of these forums. And in fact, 3 years ago, UJA was actually awarded for its support for the Jamaica robotics team. But you don't hear about that in the media because that's not a story to the media.
And I know you understand why we have this platform in place, the SosoBone Media Network,
Mm-hmm.
because while you have said it, verbalized it, so it's now immortalized, it's written, it's documented. Those before you who might not have said that has caused the misunderstanding as to who is sponsoring to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It's,
now that we know, then we will be able to consistently recognize that this is a product of the diaspora. And I say this because in some of the different channels that we have on our platform, from cricket discussion or soccer discussion, we see where on many occasions we are a little bit critical of the government when
mm-hmm.
they come in rather late, when our people are doing well. Okay, and that goes from the Jamaica bobsled team, that goes from the reggae girls, that goes, I mean, there are quite a few things that we said that we need to make sure that our history recognize that the concept and the support of the things that we do evolved from the diaspora. Okay.
Absolutely. And as we talk about what UJA and the alumni associations have done for schools, we talk about robotics, but I also want to go on record with respect to two other programs. You
Mm-hmm.
know, from time to time I see organizations get on TVJ or wherever else in Jamaica
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about the fact that they've donated a water tank to a school and they trumpet, their efforts to make sure that the school gets that water tank.
Mm-hmm.
A little known fact, though, is that over the years, UJA has literally given a few hundred water tanks to schools. And in fact, just within the last 3 years, we gave 20 tanks to
Okay.
schools in Jamaica. And right now, we're in the process of getting the arrangements in place for another 10 tanks to go in. When Jamaica got to its 60th year, we made a commitment that we were going to give 60 tanks for 60 years,
Okay.
right? We gave 20 initially and we've given a second set of 20, so that's 40 towards completing the promise, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going to give another 10 within the next couple of weeks. That will make 50 towards completing the promise, and it is our hope that before school is out this year we will have given the additional 20 so that all 60 has been delivered, and we
Oh,
spread it out. We gave 20 right in Middlesex, we gave 20 in Surrey, and now we're on to Cornwall County so that each county would have received 20 tanks from us. So that is something that our alumni associations can be very proud about that they've done. And yet we don't brag about the one tank here and there. We brag about the many tanks we've given. And you ask the average Jamaican and they never even heard that there was a huge water tank program.
well, I'm laughing because I'm laughing now because I understand some of the politicians don't they brag about how many schools have tanks. Okay. so yes, I mean, again, while I look at this from the marketing of our diaspora angle, I
Mhm,
also look at it from the mentorship angle for the
mhm,
other organizations who do not belong to the usual. Okay, what many different times, they too are looking for something that they can do that adds to what we have. Okay.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, from time to time, I will get members of the diaspora who will call up and they will say, I hear you have a water tank program. What if I would like to purchase a water tank for a school? Can you handle it for us? And we generally say yes.
Yes. And
Right? So you have schools that are not UJA schools that
mhm,
end up getting a water tank because somebody or some organization in the diaspora wants to help them out with a tank because they know that they're struggling. Right? Another program that I want to put on the forefront, and again, we must make sure this is recorded. UJA's motto is education is empowerment.
yes.
Only the educated are truly free, and we believe that, right? And
Mhm.
so our foundation was really for the primary schools.
Ah.
Today we have primary schools, high schools,
Mm-hmm.
tertiary institutions, but
Mm-hmm.
we're at a point now where we have 10 primary schools
Uh-huh.
within UJA. And
Mhm.
those 10 primary schools are doing enormous work for their schools. In fact, they came together and they said there are robotics programs for high schools. What about
Mhm.
us?
Ah,
And
yes.
so 2 years ago, we had the first, what they call our first Lego League program for primary schools in Jamaica, spearheaded by UJA. And in fact, this June will be the third edition of the first Lego Leagues for primary schools.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I am pleased to hear that, because I do have conversations with, some of the people who are heading up missions down there or projects. You would do it, but just for the record, I would like you to identify some of your leading um, partners or board members who are you working with as we push these products for these initiatives forward.
So, with respect to robotics, this has been a program that, to be honest with you, UJA has had to finance pretty much on its own.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone out and we've raised funds towards what we're doing. I know within the diaspora, various organizations like Caribbean Food Delights and like the Golden Cross folks and so on has come together. But from the Jamaica end, perhaps the staunchest partner to robotics in Jamaica has been Jamaica National. And in recent times, the Jamaica Teachers Association has stood with us. In fact, last year, they were one of our biggest contributors
Uh-huh.
towards making sure these programs go well. And so it is the efforts of the individual alumni associations that has been the driving force and not big corporate money, whether from Jamaica or here in the
Ah,
US.
yes, because that, I mean, one of the discussions I've had, which is going to take place eventually, is that we're going to have an order of distinction in our diaspora
Mhm,
that is not dependent on King Charles representative. It's not
mhm,
dependent on a political recommendation based on which party is in power, okay,
mhm,
but will be judged by voting within the concept of the diaspora, okay,
mhm,
and and in our discussion, we would like this type of recognition to be like a Nobel Prize, where you
mhm,
do not give somebody a pen or a piece of paper to stick on their wall, but it comes with a financial compensation that goes towards that institution. This way
mhm,
we can we can encourage more activity within the various organizations. Encourage organizations that does not belong to you, Joe, to
mhm,
get on board so that they can qualify to be judged. Okay. And in the process, unify all our organizations in diaspora. That discussion is that's a deep discussion going on at the moment. Because as I said before, we also have a union of Jamaican organizations in Atlanta,
mhm.
similar to the one in New York. And I'm sure that if you look down in Florida and other places, you're going to find organizations where they sort of get together to do things. And that's great. We just have to now find a way for the diaspora. Because the things that you're doing, the
And there's a
organization.
similar organization up in Canada,
I
right?
was about to say that, right?
Yep.
And we need now for the things that you guys are doing that works, for Atlanta to know about it, for Canada to know about it, for all the various chapters that are not connected to know about it. In this case, it makes it more, it makes it easier for them to do different projects.
Here.
Yes, so I'm just saying that I need to make the examples of what is being done visible,
Mhm.
okay, to the other organizations that are looking for mentorship and leadership, okay? Be-
Yep.
because not all of them, while they have the interest, like we all do in every capacity, from jobs to you name it, not all of them are qualified to make the leap or to move forward. That is just the SosoBone aspect of it. That not everyone is gonna run the 100 meters and beat Usain Bolt. That is a fact. Okay, so we have a community, therefore, that needs leadership, and I can only look at the most dominant organizations that we have and try to make them visible to the other organizations, so that if someone wants to do something, this I can say, listen, give Donovan Wilson a call, talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes, find out what you guys can maybe do individually or collectively, so that you can now move forward. Okay.
Yep. And so I'll tell you. So we talked about robotics. We talked about water tanks. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about the primary schools, right?
Uh-huh.
And the work that they're doing. Another thing that we find our alumni associations do, and they don't get much credit for it. Many of
Mm-hmm.
them have breakfast programs in their schools in Jamaica, right? Many
Yes.
of them support their athletes. We're looking at champs right now, and many of those teams are supported by the alumni associations that are there to help with spikes, with gears, with the students getting to school each day, right? And
Mm-hmm.
also, a big thing that goes, and you mentioned it, but most people don't realize it. Several of these alumni associations have mentorship programs that
Okay.
are going on within the schools, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
all of these programs are taking place, but at the same time, there is this non-profit component where we need to make sure that we are obeying the rules of these United States. And
Uh-huh.
so part of what UJA does is to make sure that our nonprofit organizations are in compliance with the rules
Okay.
that governs how we operate.
Yes, yes, that is important. We have seen where that has caused some serious damage to organizations outside of our community. So yes, it's important. Now,
Yep.
when you have a meeting, what
Mhm.
is the reporting like?
So for us at UJA, every time we have a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we present a financial report.
Mm-hmm.
We are a group of unpaid volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time we have a meeting, we make sure that all members and any interested party can see clearly how we are spending money.
Okay.
You know as well as I do that among our Jamaicans, they can be very untrusting
Oh well.
when it comes to money. So we make sure that we're very clear in terms of how we spend. But in addition to that, the various programs that we undertake are documented so that the membership and again even non-members can see what have we done previously, what have we done
Uh-huh.
since the last meeting, and we have members meeting every 2 months so that they can
Uh-huh.
see progression, they can see how we're moving forward with the things that we're doing. And so they have the opportunity that if there's a program that's not moving, they can say to us, well, what's going on here? We haven't seen any progress since last time around,
Okay.
because our goal is to continue to show progress, and where we're not progressing, to evaluate what's going on so that we can say why is it that we're not progressing. And we believe that that is very important for the survival of an organization. And we believe that is why we have done so well over the years, because we document our progress as we move along.
Good. And I'm glad you pressed that out, because one of the things that normally governs the decision of an outside organization to come on board is, what is the procedure like?
Yep.
What, what will we be required to do, or how do we fit in? Now,
Yep.
simultaneously, therefore, I would expect that you form committees that is composed of various organizations across the board.
Right. So let's talk about the structure of UJA for a minute, right?
Yes.
As I said, we have 66 member organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 years, we have an election,
Uh-huh.
and that election is to elect an executive body of 11 members,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a president, there is a vice president, a treasurer, an
Mm-hmm.
assistant treasurer, a recording secretary, and a corresponding secretary. So those are the six key officers. But in
Uh-huh.
addition to that, we have five directors,
Uh-huh.
right? And the director's role is to lend their expertise to the board, to the officers, so that together they can work collectively.
Okay.
Any member of an organization can be nominated by their organization to be a part of the board,
Okay.
right? So there's a nominations process where, folks are nominated to be officers or directors, and then we actually have an election where the member organizations vote to elect the persons who will serve for the next year.
Uh-huh.
Each member organization has two votes, right?
Okay.
Each member organization has two votes, and you know, I don't think I've ever seen a case where the votes are split. If an
Hmm.
organization have two votes, they generally will put both votes towards a particular candidate. But
Okay.
the safeguard is that if there should come a point where there's a disagreement within the organizations, the vote could be split one on one, or they could elect not to vote at all. I
Okay.
will tell you personally, I don't like the concept of not voting because I feel like you should exercise your franchise, right? But we have elected representative. That's the important point to note here.
Mhm. Now,
You know,
what is it? What do the organization throw dues?
so we have an annual dues of $200. You pay that once per year, right?
Okay.
And in fact, I can tell you the dues has been the same since I joined the UJA board back in 2015.
Well,
I don't know
that's a good
how
sign
long
that you.
before that, but certainly since 2015, it has been the same. And I will go on record of saying that we are getting to a point now where we have to seriously look at whether or not it is time to raise the dues, right? But
Mhm.
we are also very cognizant of the fact that times are tough right now.
Well, I was about to say that.
Times are really tough right now.
I was about to say that's a good point, that you have not had to raise the dues, because that would show how active you are in raising the necessary funds that you need to accomplish your goals. So I was about to say, well,
But with each year,
well,
But with each year that has gone by, it's become a
oh,
little bit harder. And many organizations, even ones that are bigger than us, will tell you that since COVID, it's become many times more difficult to raise the same amount of funding that you have in the past.
okay. Now, in summarizing your accomplishments on a yearly basis, do you utilize, or are you able to utilize this now to go after grants or anything like that?
No. And you might be surprised to hear me say no. And I want to
Mhm.
just raise one challenge that UJA faces.
Uh-huh.
We are supporting schools back in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
We're based here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Many times when you apply for a grant, they are looking to see what you are doing here in the US.
Yes.
That has been the challenge that we have faced. And And so we've moved now to make sure, and for years we've done this at least over the last 10 years, to make sure that there are some things that we're doing here within the US with a view to using the proceeds from that to then helping with the things that we want to do back in Jamaica, right? We
Yes.
were fortunate a few years ago to get a major grant, but I would like to say that, grants have not been a major part of our ecosystem when it comes to supporting what we do. We would love
Okay.
for
Well,
it to be though, and if you have sources that you can point us to, we would jump to take advantage of those sources.
well, I understand the grant process, and that is why said it earlier that it is so important that we archive your year by year activity,
Hmm.
because most of the time when it comes to grants, people want to take a look back at
Yep.
what you do, or consistent you have been in doing it, and being able to identify your contribution as an organization to the project that you might have in mind. So if they say, well, listen, you want a grant for $1 million, we need to see you put up $200,000. Being able to
Hmm.
account for $200,000, you put down 20%. We will talk about the other. We'll deal with the 80%, and that's why I said that
Absolutely.
that's why I say it is so important that they can look back and be able to track, your progress to the point where they come knocking on your door. Okay, where they come knocking on your door, because even as we look at some of the aid that we get from governments into our country, even the recent discussion about USAID,
Hmm.
generally they're always looking for established working programs,
Hmm.
okay, that they can partner with, okay, rather than government. Okay.
Yes, indeed. And so I will say that I believe that the union needs to do a better job of trying to garner some of those grants, of trying to get some of that grant support, because so far we've been doing it just primarily through the efforts of our member organizations.
Yes, and I would just like to say that I would like to be able to showcase what you guys are doing, because it's the same people who are looking and viewing, and what is documented, they are the ones who are making the decisions about the grants.
Yes.
Okay, yes. you know
And so, with that being said, I think it would be remiss if I ended and I didn't mention this. I want to mention the fact that many of our high schools in Jamaica see their alumni associations as the driving force, as the motivating force for them to get to the next level. They're able to point to their alumni members and to say to their current students, look at what our alumni has done. Look at what our alumni is doing today for our
yes,
schools, right? And I think that is just something that we must continue to do. We must continue to be a guiding light. We must continue to be that beacon that our current students can look at and see the way forward, knowing that those before them have done it and they too can do it.
yes, and that now is where I said we must be able to have them find that information in whatever corners of the world they are, so that they can learn the process of giving back.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I would exhort your listeners to, go to www.ujaausa.org, because we certainly try to archive a lot of what we do. In fact, for years, we have done a year in review. For years, we have a president report which captures the highlight of what we've done in the year before, so that anybody looking at the year in review or at the president's report is able to be like, wow, so this is what they've been up to over the last 12
Y-
months.
Yes, and you have an email address that they can contact you in case there are quick follow-up questions from our viewers.
Absolutely. So they can reach out to President 7, so President the number 7
Mhm.
at UJAAUSA.org. That's President 7 at UJAAUSA.org. Or alternatively, they can simply send an email to info at UJAAUSA.org.
Well, Mr. President, let me say thank you so much for updating our community as to what is being done under the umbrella that you lead. And I'm looking forward in the future to more updates as we go forward. Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on. And at any time that you want to get an update from us, we are happy to make a board member available, make a member organization available, because I don't want people to just hear from me as the president. I want them to hear from the people who are in the trenches.
Well, we will be holding you to that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Trevor. And as Miss Lou would say, walk good.
Well, good. Thank you.